Hello guys, thank you for your support. After the launch of the channel, I have received so many messages of support from you, and I want you to know that I really appreciate it. So after the couple of videos I have done, I have received some questions, a number of them, that I would like to use this video to address. Some of these questions were asked on my social media handles. I'm going to put them on the screen. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Your questions help me to do some research and bring you the most credible information. So don't worry at all, ask me anything and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and answer some of the questions that I've received, in the hope that some of you have not had the opportunity to ask me yourselves, and maybe there are things on your mind as well. Let's zoom right into it. The first question I have here has to do with the Ielts. She asked, does the UK NMC take the ECTS or the EETIS, commonly known as NARIC, for those with degree as English proficiency in place of Ielts? That's a very good question. ECTS or the ECCTIS serves as a professional body that validates degrees or occupational skills from outside the UK for the UK government. So if you have any degree, any qualification of that sort, you could apply to the ECTS for them to validate whatever qualification you had according to the standards of the UK. In this situation, if you were trained in English and did not want to write the Ielts, you could apply to the ECTS, pay a fee, and they would validate your education based on your submitted transcript and report back to the agency or the UK government that the qualification you have is either at par to the UK standard or the requirements they're asking for, or otherwise. But to answer this particular question, the answer is no. So we're going to go to the NMC website and find out what the NMC thinks about this. The NMC specifically states that NARIC or ECTS certificates are currently not included in our English language policy. That is a very nice way of saying that no, we do not accept NARIC as at now or currently in place of the English language evidence, which is either the Ielts or the OET. The second question here is that someone asked, can I apply for jobs in the UK immediately after school? I got in touch with the person, and what she meant was that did she really need 1 year work experience before she could apply for jobs in the UK. In my experience, and by speaking to some friends who were in similar situations, used or listed their mandatory clinical period after graduation as a 1 year work experience. It's a common practice in most countries that after completing your degree or your diploma in nursing or midwifery, you are not eligible to practice independently unless you have undergone a 1 year clinical rotation period where you move from various units in the hospital and get that exposure and build that experience needed to work independently as a nurse or a midwife. Most people list that clinical mandatory period as their 1 year experience, which qualifies them to practice in the UK or makes them eligible for consideration by various employers. So I guess that would be a yes after you have completed your mandatory clinical period. That for some employers counts as 1 year experience, and I think at this point it is based on the employer's discretion. Hence you can list that as 1 year clinical period or 1 year internship period, and most employers do consider that before shortlisting applicants. This person says that thank you for all you do and God bless you. Okay, thank you so much. In one of your videos you mentioned that you made over 100 applications after the job. So I would like to ask you what I can do to get an offer. A tricky one and quite difficult to answer. When it comes to applying for jobs, job hunting in general, I previously mentioned that it can be very challenging and very stressful. Your best bet is by not giving up and applying as much as possible. So back then when I was in Ghana, I was considering working specifically in England. When you mention the UK, Scotland and Northern Ireland or even Wales, was not very popular to me back then. I hope maybe it could be the same for other people. But when you come here, you get to understand that it's pretty much the same thing. Based on her question, I'm going to leave a link, and this will go a long way to help a lot of people. It's a link by the NHS in Scotland, and there's been a lot of job opportunities or job offers on the site. Currently, I was contemplating about moving to the NHS. I have an offer as of now, but based on so many factors and so many circumstances, I decided to let it go. I'm going to go into that later on in another video. But there are so many other offers in Scotland in particular that a lot of people are not aware of. So do well to share the link with everybody you know who is applying for jobs back home in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Kenya, basically whoever you know, because it's going to help. But to answer that question specifically is to keep applying. Last month I was at a job fair in Glasgow, and there are a lot of recruiters currently looking for employees. I got some of the recruiters. One was King's College University Hospital in London. Yeah, I'm giving information for free, don't worry. That's why the channel was set up in the first place. So if you're in Ghana, you're in Nigeria, and you want to apply, the recruiter specifically sent me a mail to share the link with you. I'm going to put up the mail for you to see. What they want are applicants who have passed their Ielts and have received their decision letter from the NMC to come to the UK to sit the OSCE. If you are such a person, just send a mail to this email, and when you get an offer, just come back and leave a comment that you got the job from this particular video, and that will be most appreciated. So keep applying, don't give up. The next question is, can I write my IELTS while I'm still in school? Okay. Nothing prevents you from writing your IELTS while you are still in school. But this question brings about the validity of the English language evidence to bear. The IELTS or the OET has a validity of 2 years. It means that from the moment you write the test and you receive your test report, the test is valid and you can use it as evidence of your English language proficiency for up to 2 years. After the 2-year period, the test is expired, you would have to sit for another one. You can do that, but in practice, I wouldn't advise you to, because you could do that while you are in school and you might not finish the process to get a job or even qualify to have a 1-year work experience. And by the time you have met all these requirements, your English language test might have expired. So it's best that by the time you're doing your mandatory clinical period, or you take the test after you have that mandatory clinical period, so that you use the energy to applying for jobs or sitting for the test of competence, which is the CBT, and getting your decision letter so that you can apply for jobs and hopefully move to the UK. So simply put, no, I wouldn't advise you to write the IELTS or the OET while you are still in school. This is from Facebook. Someone reached out and asked that, can I book and write IELTS Academic UKVI or just IELTS Academic, and what are the differences between both of them? The NMC accepts both IELTS Academic and IELTS UKVI, which stands for UK Visas and Immigrations, for proof of the English language proficiency. The difference between is that previously there was the IELTS, which was for Visas and Immigrations, known as the IELTS UKVI, and it served as purposes for only visas and immigrations by the Home Office. But then the differences between the IELTS UKVI and the IELTS Academic is that the UKVI version was written specifically at the British Council under strict security, cameras everywhere and all of that, and that was used for visas and immigrations. But as the IELTS Academic became as secure as the UKVI, most organizations started accepting the IELTS Academic alongside the IELTS UKVI. Typically because the IELTS Academic is written in centers that can host a large number of candidates, And because of that, the security and the trustworthiness of the test, I suppose, was questionable by the professional organizations here. But as time went on and the British Council had means to verify candidates before they sat for the exam and all the security measures that has been put in place, I remember when I sat for the test, you would present your passport or your ID card, which would be cross-checked on the system. Fingerprints was validated there and then to make sure that you are who you say you are before you enter the exam hall. Based on all these security checks, I suppose that now the regulators in the UK are comfortable accepting the Ielts academic alongside the Ielts UK VR. And in terms of the structure of the test, there is no difference at all. The underlying difference was that the UK VI was done under strict security control, and now the Ielts academic has basically the same security checks that makes it as par with the Ielts UK VI. And the upside of the Ielts academic is that the centers where it is hosted can take a large number of candidates, and by so doing, a lot of candidates can apply, get early dates, and write the Ielts academic. So in terms of course structure, in terms of the modules that are done, Ielts academic and the UK VI have the same sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And basically, it's the same content if it's taken on the same dates. To sum it up, even the Ielts academic now is accepted by the Visas and Immigrations, and you don't specifically have to go through the hassle of registering for Ielts UK VI. This person reached out to me on Instagram and asked that I learned that there is a ban on some countries in Africa that prevents recruitment agencies from employing applicants. A friend told me that now that ban has been lifted, and I would like to know your take on it, whether it is true or not. A while ago, when we had COVID on our hands and the whole world nearly folded up, it was the World Health Organization's initiative from preventing rich and developed countries from poaching health workers from developing countries. So the World Health Organization sort of forced the hand of developed countries by categorizing certain countries into color codes of lists. We had the red list, we had the yellow list, and if a particular country fell within, let's say, a green list, they could not recruit from red listed countries. But as time went on, COVID is not completely out of the system, but we have vaccines now, and it's not as scary as in March 2020. When I went to a job fair in Glasgow last month, I met a lot of recruiters, and based on some of the interactions I had with a particular one in London, he said that although they could not actively recruit, or they could not say, hey, we've advertised for positions, apply and we're going to recruit you. If you applied directly to them, you were going to be considered, and that was different from the word actively recruiting. I think it's just a way around the law. If you directly apply to the employers and not through agencies, you stand a very high chance of getting an offer if the post is still available. So do not apply to recruitment agencies. Try as much as possible and apply to the trust specifically, or to if they are private companies, the companies themselves, or their websites, particularly when they list job offers. If you're getting some value out of this video, I would like you to consider clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel, because more content is coming. I understand that there is a case being made by various applicants that they would appreciate it if they could retake single modules or sections of the Ielts. So let's say if they did not meet the target for writing in their previous test, there's an appeal that the British Council would consider accepting the reset of the test where a particular module that needs to meet the required band score is sat individually. In as much as that would go a long way to help a lot of applicants meet the target for the NMC and other professional organizations, that is not the case as of now. On the NMC's website, they state here specifically that if you are retaking an IELTS or OET, we can only accept tests where you have retaken all modules. That is your answer. Hopefully someday in the future that is done, and it eases a lot of stress for prospective applicants, but as of now that is not the case. I hope you got some questions answered, and if you would like to ask any questions or have any particular topic covered, leave it in the comment section or reach out to me on any of my social media handles. I have a newsletter that I would like to consider subscribing, that I will use to answer some of these questions. I'll leave a link in the description. Subscribe to the newsletter and you receive some of these answers to these questions directly in your emails, and I hope it goes a long way into helping your journey to working in the UK. Thank you, and see you in another video.